Hi, my name is Matt Kosterman. I'm a 56-year-old white guy living in Chicago, Illinois. For the first 50 plus years of my life, I didn't think I was allowed to be here. Not just here in Chicago, but here, on Earth, in a body. I suffered from depression for most of my life. I smoked my first joint at age 11 and had my first drink of Southern Comfort straight from the bottle at age 13. While the cannabis never really took hold as an addiction, I drank alcohol for the next 20 years, many times to excess. In 1998, I began psychotherapy, and in the year 2000, I started on antidepressants. I spent 12 years on them and 15 years in traditional talk therapy. Meanwhile, I built a successful business, became a father to 2 amazing girls, and rehabbed an old house in a nice suburb. I did all the things. In 2010, I went through divorce, foreclosure, and bankruptcy. Fun times. After much flailing about, I got my head on straight in 2015, only to begin experiencing severe chronic pelvic pain along with fibromyalgia. I spent nearly 3 years in the Western medical system trying desperately to heal. In 2018, out of money and out of patience, my healing journey really kicked into gear after my first magic mushroom trip. The years since have been an amazing and challenging ride. I've traversed the physical and not-so-physical worlds and been fortunate to work with many, many talented healers. As a result of all my efforts, I now find myself in a place of receiving, contentment, and prosperity, the likes of which had eluded me for most of my life. There's a man named Daryl Anka who channels a being called Bashar. Bashar describes the process of engaging with a healer, that of giving yourself what is essentially a permission slip to move towards wholeness, healing, and right relationship. This podcast is an effort to share some of what I've learned and introduce you to some of the people and ways that literally gave me what feels like my permission slip for existence. It's also an effort to continue to spread the word that the traditional Western medical system, while effective for a great many things, is not necessarily the be-all, end-all solution to every health problem, especially when the problem may be more spiritual than it is physical, as it was in my case. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoy it. Please like, subscribe, and do all the social media things that help spread the word. Share these links with people directly in your community. It is my sincere hope that you and others will benefit from my experiences. Welcome back to The Permission Slip. I'm Matt Kosterman, and I'm here today with Rich Priddis. He is I'm going to get this wrong now, conscious, you tell me, Rich.
Conscious connection and intimacy guide.
A conscious connection and intimacy guide. That's a mouthful. So thanks for being here, Rich. It's great to see you again.
Thank you. You too.
Just by way of background, I know Rich through a retreat through an organization called ISTA, the International School of the Temple Arts, which I think is loosely headquartered in Sedona, but sort of a worldwide web.
Yeah. It's the nonprofit is officially in Arizona. Yeah,
in Arizona,
worldwide. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Rich was a facilitator at the retreat that I did in the summer of 24 down in the stunning Lake Atitlan, Guatemala, which is one of my favorite places on the planet, having been there for about 8 days. And so we're gonna talk about sex today.
Awesome.
Something a little different for the podcast. I would say I was thinking about it just before we started it, that the level 1 retreat that I attended was the as powerful or more powerful of an experience that I've had, and I've had many, and especially one that did not include any mind-altering substances. I let go of, I left a tremendous amount of shame that I didn't really even know I had down in Lake Atitlan. And Rich was a facilitator along with Araminta Barber and Aya. What is Aya?
It was Aya, yeah.
Yeah, Aya. So let me just look over here real quick. So why don't we start? Just give us a little of your background, Rich. I know it's rich and storied with your religious upbringing.
My religious upbringing, yeah. So I was born into the Mormon church, and it's a pretty strict religion, as others are around sexuality.
Yeah.
But my parents were also strict at being Mormons, and so I was raised with a lot of shame around my body. I don't know how graphic and frank you want to be, but
Yeah, go for, I mean,
my
it's rated, it's R rated on all the
is
podcasts,
it
so
okay?
whatever that's worth these days.
Well, when I was a little boy, my mother would shame me if I had an erection, and then she happened to see that, and
Yeah.
as a little boy, I didn't know what was going on, and didn't know how to control it. So I then made it my purpose to try to control that from happening, and no matter what I did, of course, the more I focused on it, the more it happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you figured out how to control it yet? 'Cause
Not yet. In fact, now that I'm older, I'm like, hey, I
yeah,
wish it would be uncontrollable now.
right. But when you're 14, 15, 16,
Yeah.
that's
Well, no, and this is when I was a little boy, like 5 or 6 years old.
oh
I'm in the
wow.
bathtub, and my mother comes in to check on me, and I'm,
Yeah.
happen to have an erection, and anyway, so it really drove me crazy trying to control that, and then feeling unworthy and all of that comes with the religious thing, and in that religion, and probably most others, but especially Mormons, it's a sin to self-pleasure,
Hmm.
and you're not supposed to have any kind of sex unless you're married, and but this whole idea that you can't even be with yourself sexually,
Yeah.
is really challenging, to say the least.
And probably I don't know a ton about religious doctrine and other religions, but similar there are similar restrictions in other religions, but Mormonism happens to be particularly tight.
Yeah, and maybe it just seems extra strict because I went through it,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
particular one.
Right.
But, yeah, so that was my upbringing, and I got married young. I was a missionary actually for the Mormon Church in Spain for 2 years, and then I came home and immediately got married to somebody I hadn't met before, but met her uh, in April when I got home. No, I got home in April. I met her in May, and we were married in August.
Wow.
So I could have sex,
And
really.
I was
We
gonna say
really
it
want to
wasn't a
get
shot.
into it.
It wasn't even a shotgun wedding because
No, it was I had to be married to have any kind of, relations, and as a missionary, we were not allowed to have any kind of interaction with, women and the opposite sex. So, and then I was faithful for 26 years,
wow.
and not all that happy. I mean, we had children. I love my children, and I love, my ex-wife, and you can't help but love somebody living with them that long. But that's all I had experienced my whole life,
It's what,
and
yeah, one partner.
yeah, one partner. And for a lot of people, that's probably okay. I don't know. But
Yeah.
for me, it was because of the circumstances where it was all so controlled and everything. So I left the church after I got divorced. I was 49. I'd been in it my whole life. I raised my children in it, and then one day I said, "Hey, kids, just kidding." But basically,
Psych.
shock. Yeah. And
Wow.
then of all things, I eventually got into this, I'll call it sex work. But yeah, I went through a lot of self improvement from, starting with like landmark education, and then
Yeah.
getting into, I found ISTA, and the Human Awareness Institute, and the Quadoshka for the deer tribe here in Arizona, and, all sorts of things. And I felt like I just, well, first it was a lot of obviously healing for me
Yeah.
personally, and then I wanted to share that, and so I quickly became an organizer for the ISTA events. It's the spiritual sexual shamanic experience, and then I eventually became a facilitator. Before that, I got certified as a cuddle party facilitator. I thought that would be the best way to introduce this to the Mormon community, because it's
Oh, okay.
tame, it's non-sexual, but they even had a problem with that.
So yeah, so just expand on that a little because I don't know that people outside,
A cuddle
this world
party.
even know what a cuddle party. I mean, it's
Yeah, so
what's on the tin, but
Yeah, so a cuddle party is non-sexual, but it's a place where you come and first of all learn about consent and asking permission to interact with another person. That's one of the best parts of it, I think. But then cuddling, hugging, at whatever level. I mean, you could just sit and stroke somebody's hair or give them a
Right.
massage on their shoulders or whatever, but or you could spoon with them.
And
But it's
clothed typically.
clothed. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
totally not sexual. But it's an exercise in opening, letting down the walls, letting in this other human being. Um, and I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things I tried, and
And,
that was
did
too
you
much for the Mormon community too.
you were out of the church at that time, but you were trying to introduce
Mhm.
it to your
Yeah,
friends and relatives, basically.
yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, so that's the path, and now I'm doing one-on-one work with people, um, where they can experience, healing from shame. One of the things that not only with this, but with ISTA is, you can talk to a therapist, you can work things through in your head, and that's good to a certain extent. But then physically stepping into it is really where the change happens, in my
Yeah.
viewpoint.
The embodiment.
Yeah, and so I work with people where we'll get physical, stepping into whatever it is that's got them hung up
Hmm.
around their bodies, around their emotions, around their sexuality, and giving them that. I call it a transmission, an energy that they get,
Right.
that shifts.
A permission, really,
Yeah.
an energetic permission
Hmm.
to shift.
Yeah.
So and let me back up. So just what was the actual catalyst after 26 years of marriage and a lifetime in the Mormon church? What did that look like? Like, was it
Well, uh, that was really the beginning of my path, was that we did 6 years of marriage counseling
okay?
before we divorced. That's a long time, and it was an intense um, work we were doing every single week, a couple times a week sometimes. And I it was actually my wife's idea to do counseling. And when I stepped into that, I saw how screwed up I was. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to come out of those sessions just sweating,
Oh,
just like it was so much to realize
yeah.
how messed up I was, meaning I'd been programmed and conditioned in a way that I was stuck. I was
Well, it ran counter to your nature, to human. The program runs
exactly,
counter to human nature.
exactly, yeah. And so that was the beginning point. And then when I finally decided, yeah, I got married for the wrong reasons. I've got to, whatever the reasons,
Yeah.
decided to finally divorce. Um, then what was I going to say? Um,
Was the counselor Mormon or not or non-sectarian?
they were more of a liberal
Okay.
Mormon. Yeah, she was the head of the psychology department at the local university,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, but 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 that was the point where, oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say. So when I got divorced, then I suddenly became a leper, I would say,
Yeah.
among the members of the church, the community, and there where I lived in Utah, all my neighbors were Mormon.
Hmm.
And so that kind of pushed me over the edge to go, wow,
You had the scarlet letter. You were.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that, I guess, opened the door for me to actually explore other ways of being, besides the counseling that I'd done. And so I started on that path of going to workshops and doing a lot of studying, and one day I used to do a lot of trade shows in Las Vegas, exhibiting and attending in my
For,
old business of music.
for music. Yeah. I was considered a musician. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had been seeing some information online about tantra, and I thought I really want to experience this somehow. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be in Vegas. There's got to be something about tantra in Vegas, and there wasn't.
There wasn't. No, there
Well, that's
wouldn't
the
be.
conscious, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there were these few women listed who supposedly would come and give a tantric massage and come to your room, and I was like, wow. I mean, I used to, if I ever masturbated, I, growing up, would feel this intense shame afterwards.
Yeah.
It felt great going into it and getting to the end part. And then I would just go into this deep shame. And I certainly had never had anybody come to my room in like Vegas.
Yeah.
But I tried it. So, okay, come do this. And she showed up. She's beautiful. And she seemed to say all the right things about Tantra, but um, I don't know
He
that
was
she
reading,
would
reading
really
from the
attend
script.
to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
practitioner. But it was the most amazing experience for me that, that she got naked, I was naked, she oiled me up, she was sliding her body over mine, and I got a happy ending at the end. And at the end, I was like, I don't feel bad. I feel really
Uh-huh.
fantastic, in fact. And that was a huge turning point for me that somehow through my counseling and my studies and that sort of thing, I had somehow shifted and overcome that shame. And then stepping into that physical experience was so healing for me
Yeah.
to go, wow, there was nothing wrong with this. It was actually beautiful, and I don't feel this shame. And that was probably the real turning point for me.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, it's so wild, right? Because humans have been having sex since the beginning of time,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and yet there's so much shadow around it.
Hmm. Yeah. And nowadays that just feels pretty tame to me, that I get a sexy massage basically,
Sure.
Uh, um, yeah, and then I just continued on with my path, and I continue on.
Continue on. Yeah.
It's never ending.
Yeah. I mean, you've led. I mean, it looks like a couple dozen ISTA retreats that you've co-facilitated
I've
around the world.
actually been involved in almost 50
Yeah.
years. I started in 2014, and I tallied them up, and it's actually 47.
No kidding. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. All
So
and all over the world.
all over the world, places like Turkey and like you said, Guatemala,
Yeah.
where we met, and
You going to the festival in Cyprus next month?
not this time.
Not this one.
No,
Okay. Set this
not
one
this
out.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um, so, and then how did your life out, so you were working as a musician, continue to do that or pardon me.
yeah, I actually had a record label. It was a karaoke
That's
business
right. Yeah.
where, I was one of the first people to make karaoke music in the United States. And if you went into the record store and you bought a cassette or a CD, it could have been mine.
So you
Yeah.
were you were licensing the content and just doing the musical track,
Yeah, we'd get the
instrumental track.
musicians together and recreate them, and it was under license. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had to pay royalty and everything, but we had to recreate the music and
Little Bon
yeah,
Jovi halfway there.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
uh, and I that was that I continued to get income from that. It was back in 1984 when I started that.
No kidding. Wow. And,
Yeah,
and there's still a stream from that.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so how do people find you? How do you work with them? You're working primarily one on one.
Yeah, I also do group events, uh, things that we call temples. It's like a play party, but it's a conscious kind of play party where people get permission to experiment and explore their edges and things like
Yeah.
that. But mostly I work one on one with people or couples, and I have a website under my name, richpriddis.com. That's how people can contact me. And
Yeah, great on. I'll list that. And let me jump back actually to consent because there's I found out about this through a woman who I was dating, and she told me about ISTA shortly after we met, and similar to with this podcast, when it was suggested, my whole body lit up. She said, "Hey, why don't you? I think you'd enjoy this. You know, like you, I did the whole landmark curriculum.
Yeah.
All these different, a lot of therapy, a lot of psychedelics, which were wonderful, and still, love them. And I looked at the schedule after she had suggested, and once again, my body just lit up. I guess, okay, I
Mm.
guess I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really, I had this sense, sort of like you, of what tantra, and there's this westernized version of tantra, and it
Yeah.
tends to get, like everything Western, very hypersexualized.
Mhm.
But I had some shamanic experience, and so, but one of the, I think the misnomer when people see this, the misconceptions is that, oh, we're gonna go, someplace and just have a lot of sex, and
Right.
that actually couldn't be further from the truth. So, maybe a discussion about some of the things like the wheel of consent from Betty Martin, right?
Right.
Yeah, Betty Martin. Um, as one of the exercises, sort of the anchoring, I would say almost anchoring exercise
Mhm.
of the retreat. So maybe say a little bit about the wheel of consent and how it works in relationships with others.
Yeah. Actually, I said I have these temples where people have interactions, and it isn't just, like you said, a place to go have a bunch of sex.
Right.
We actually begin the evening with an hour or two, actually, of, I'd say, instruction and experience in consent, and so we'll do it in a, what some people call a puja format, where there are two circles facing each other, and you're interacting with a person across from you, and then rotating
Mm.
uh, to do different things. Uh, by the way, I've started. I'm trained in tantra, obviously, and I've started not using the terminology so much anymore, because I've begun to feel like it's almost apologetic,
Mm.
instead of just speaking,
To use tantra.
to use some of the terminology, like people who don't know tantra, they don't know that lingam, the word lingam is
Right.
used for a penis,
Yeah.
and yoni is the vagina, um, and things like that, and puja. So I just feel like I like to be more direct and more clear,
Sure.
because people need that
Yep.
to speak in these fancy kind of woo-woo terms. I've decided that's not me.
That's not, yeah. Just say
Even
it
though
like,
I teach tantric, you know, um, ideas, and consciousness. So yeah. So anyway, we'll sit in this puja. I call it now a connection circle.
okay,
Uh, Makes more sense to people.
for sure.
So and we'll practice. We'll talk about consent, and practicing saying no, and changing your mind, and all the different things involved with that, and we'll have an interaction between the two people facing each other, where they can practice that. And then as we uh, keep rotating around, it becomes a little bit more intense, until we start getting to things like the wheel of consent, where you go, okay, let's practice this idea of one person serving the other person.
Hmm.
Like if you're a massage therapist, you would be serving the person you're giving the massage to, and they're receiving.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's one axis.
that's one part, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we talk about that, and we let them practice it. And then and for example, sometimes people really get hung up on that, because they don't know how to receive, for
Hmm.
example. They can't just be there and accept. A lot of times they feel like they have to be doing something
Yeah.
in response, or um
Which then shifts the dynamic.
uh-huh.
If they're not in a receiving mode, you can't serve.
Yeah. Yeah. And the person serving, sometimes they don't know how to simply serve, so that the whole benefit's going to the person receiving. Sometimes all they know is to take, and they don't realize that they're taking energy, for their benefit. I mean,
Yeah. Like in a
it,
codependent
yeah,
sort of a way.
yeah. And it's all nuanced. I mean, it's obviously you're going to enjoy serving somebody. usually anyway. And but it's this really subtle energy thing that we play with, and then we rotate around again and we talk about taking and allowing, which really uh, sometimes trips people up. This whole idea of taking is like bad,
Right.
taboo,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so we practice that about consciously taking where somebody's allowing.
Right. It's only taboo if you're doing it with to somebody who's not allowing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so we practice those things. I've actually changed the way I talk about it. Instead of just taking, I call it partaking. So
Mm,
you're the person. I can do my best as like a practitioner to serve somebody and give them what I think they're needing. But then if you switch it around and let them partake of my energy, for example, they know what they're needing, they know what they want, and so they get to practice doing that, taking
mhm.
the parts. It's not depriving me of something, this taking, but it's sharing.
Sure.
And so they get a chance to partake of what they really want because they know better than I do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's fun to play with that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and it's all centered around communication, like you said before.
Totally. Communication and people sometimes think that that's a buzzkill and when you're interacting with somebody. And the real buzzkill though is when there's miscommunication because you haven't been talking enough
Right.
and you think that they're wanting something and they're really not, and then you have a problem.
Yeah, and where I mean, I have my own ideas, but where's that, that root cause of this thought that many people have that we can't talk about this stuff, right? I mean, that's sort
Yeah.
of the overlay.
There, I think there are a couple issues there. One is just not being present. You know, you're not focused on the other person at all. You're just there to get off or
Hmm.
something. You know,
Hmm.
it's, um, for your own selfish desires and needs. And so, we talk about when you're not present with the other person's energy, then bad shit happens.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, the other part of that is, oh, I just lost my train of thought again.
I mean, to me, it goes back to shades of your upbringing, right? We don't talk about these things. We don't talk about
Oh,
sex.
right. Right.
Right? We're
Yeah,
not. Yeah, we're not.
that's what I was going to say is it's about fear, really.
Yeah,
Fear of being rejected, fear of, you I always like this image of the old time movies where, there's a couple sitting in the theater and the guy yawns
yeah,
and puts his arm around the person and you're hoping that that's what they want or assuming that that's what they want. And instead of asking, "Hey, can I put my arm around you?" That's very simple, and they can say yes or no. But but because of that fear of rejection, I guess we sneak in the sneaky way almost,
yeah, shadowy.
shadowy way, yeah,
Yeah,
move our arm around a person and yeah, and maybe because we haven't been taught anything better, we don't even know how to ask.
yeah. I mean, I mean, that takes me right back to like my fifth grade girlfriend, girlfriend, quote unquote,
Uh,
literally at a movie and like, oh, can I get my
yeah,
arm around her? I mean,
exactly. It's classic.
it's a classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah, and
so it's practicing these things. It's practicing this communication in on the court, as they might say at Landmark, right?
yeah, right. And people don't realize too, especially I would say men, and if I were to be appropriate, I'll say people in male bodies,
Yeah.
um, that the okay, just from my background, my understanding, my experience, I'm going to talk about men and women. Okay, so the female energy, uh, in order to get to sex with a female, you have to go through her heart, and
Hmm.
if you want to get to a man's heart, it's usually through sex.
Right.
Initially,
It's
so
inverse.
it's like you got this dissonance there, this different way of approaching things, and so this idea of talking first is a way of going through the heart. You're showing real interest and concern and care for the person. And the guy on the on the other side of it is like, hey, let's just get to it,
Right.
right? This is why we're here. And it's not always that way. I mean, if there's some other kind of, if the female has already decided that they like the person, she might want to just get right to it too. But generally, there's that whole idea of warming up and um, foreplay and all of that, and having these kinds of conversations is a great way
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to do that. But a lot of guys just don't get that.
Yeah, which brings me to the whole I don't know how many letters are in the acronym these days. It keeps getting added to, but the RBDSMA
Yeah.
discussion, is that what we're at now, or are there more letters?
Well, and I was at again doing a temple trying to explain that, and somebody came up with a different acronym.
Okay.
You just change the letters around, and they came up with body smart.
Oh, body smart.
And
Okay.
yeah, and what that is the B is about boundaries. So this is a way of remembering things to talk about.
When
It's
you're having a conversation with somebody, yeah, this was
conversation.
very eye-opening part of ISTA.
Safer sex kind of talk is sometimes what they say.
Yeah,
But yeah, B is for boundaries. D is desires. So you're basically taking out
the vowels.
the vowels. Yeah. D is desire. S is about your sexual history and
ST,
preference, things like that.
STIs, etc.
Yeah. M is for the meaning. What does this mean if we do this? And how do you want to be cared for afterwards? And then R is for relationships that you have.
The A would be the aftercare, right? The smart, but A is it
Oh yeah, it could
meaning
be.
and aftercare, right?
Yeah, but
Body smart.
I guess it could be in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Aftercare.
aftercare, like, do you need,
Sure.
you want me to text you? Do I need to call you
Yeah.
every week? What,
Uh, and then the T is about trauma, talking about that,
Oh,
anything that
okay.
might be there, and how do you, if you're aware of it, and how can you help if something like that comes up, and so anyway, body smart. It's a way of remembering all those.
Yeah, that's great. And then it doesn't brand. I know when I've said our BDSMA to people and they pick out the BDSM and think that we're
Yeah.
going to be kinky, and it doesn't. It's not, that's not necessarily the case. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with that. It's
Right.
simply an acronym.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
And you can talk about all of those. Once you've talked about that, where you're at with the person as far as agreements and relationships, and
right. And each person, you take turn, like person
hmm
number one goes through their body
yeah.
smart, and then person number two goes through their body smart. And the
hmm
other thing I think was cool around boundaries is that the more limiting of the two boundaries is the one that is goes into effect. So if somebody doesn't want to take their clothes off, but
Yeah.
somebody else does, then we don't take our clothes off.
Exactly. And one of the things I teach is that you can negotiate too. You might have a desire to do something, and they're like, yeah, I'm not up for that, but how about this? We can try
Yeah,
it this way. And so yeah, can we do the same thing with our clothes on?
sure.
Uh,
Well, yeah, and one of the exercises to that point at ISTA was the energetic sex with breathing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And in fact, that can be even more intimate, I think, than actual physical intercourse, is that energetic.
Yeah, where you're basically eye gazing, and then you're sort of doing a looping breath, right? One person's breathing out as the other person's
Mhm.
breathing in,
Yeah.
and then you switch.
So it's really a practice in deep presence. You're syncing your breathing together, um uh yeah, the
Your energy,
presence,
yeah.
and then it becomes this thing where your bodies vibrate together. Like that's the energetic part of it. The climax of it, I would say, is
Is
that your bodies are vibrating, and you're actually feeling. You can have a connection with each other's hearts, or you can do
mhm.
it your third eye or your genitals or whatever. But it's all energetic.
It's all energetic, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no intimate touch.
And then if you learn to combine that with actual physical intercourse, then it's mind blowing because
Yeah.
you've got that presence and you've got that energy flowing
The
instead
deep
of,
connection, and then you add the physical to it.
yeah, instead of, some people tend to have sex and their mind somewhere else.
Right.
It's not with that person.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it's limiting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, and are these things when you're working with people, say one on one, is this you go through some of these exercises as well, and this sort of theory?
Yeah. There's always the basic things like that are important to share. And then really working with people, there's no set like curriculum or anything or a program. It's based on what it is that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And let's see, I'll just say this. Again, it's going to be graphic, but this one person I worked with had issues with her moon time, her period.
Yeah.
She had experiences with men and people that made her feel like it was dirty and that they didn't like being around her and certainly didn't want to be intimate with her when that was the time of the month for her. And so she wanted to heal that. And again, we could talk all day long about how it
Yeah.
should be and all of that. But what we did is we actually ended up making love on her moon time, on her period. And not only that, we took the blood and smeared it all over each other's bodies and played in it and
Oh wow. Yeah.
to really and that may sound really graphic. It is, but it was a way of physically shifting the experience. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm feeling this now in my body, not just in my mind. And
Yeah.
I'm experiencing that it's okay, that it's accepted, that it's a
I,
good thing.
I didn't die. I didn't, because
Yeah,
ultimately the shame, the end of the shame is like I might die, I might cease to exist because of
yeah.
this
And
shame.
I didn't get a lightning bolt
Yeah.
from God or something that and
Right.
so uh yeah, it's very that kind of thing is very healing. And so it just depends on what the person is going through. And then once that is shifted, then the next thing, you
What's the
know,
next layer?
what's the next layer? Yeah.
So who typically when people come to you, they're having relationship problems is typically where it starts, or
It
either
could
they.
be relationship problems. It could be that they've been married and divorced a few times and they just isn't working. Um, Maybe they have body shame issues. They don't think that they're good enough.
Hmm.
Or maybe they just haven't had touch or any kind of intimate interaction for years. I mean, there are so many
Sure.
people like that just are dry as far as having any kind of intimate experience.
Yeah.
And so and so this is oftentimes like a reference point for them to go, wow, there's something possible that's different than what I experienced in the past.
Hmm. Hmm.
Being treated well, um, being
Being asked what I
yeah,
want.
yeah, and really, experiencing that presence and yeah. So there are all kinds of different reasons.
Yeah, in the podcast episode I did with my friend Laura O'Malley, who's a channel, the guides that come through her, we were talking about sexual assault, uh,
Mhm.
and their number that they threw out was in excess of 90% of the people in our country at
Wow.
some point have been. And that's a right, as you know, it's a range. Sexual assault is a
Sure.
range of unwanted touch all the way through to to full on rape, but the
Yeah.
fact that the vast majority of the people, at least in our country, have been assaulted sexually in some way is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, a lot of it can simply be that the it wasn't like rape or anything like that, but the person
Yeah,
didn't ask to put their arm around them, or
right.
didn't ask to, whatever it
At the
is.
movies, yeah, right.
Yeah. And then on the other end of it, they may have a hard time saying no because of their upbringing, or they maybe could freeze because of past experiences and they don't know what to do. And
And
so,
it's involuntary, the freeze.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
and yet they can't. You can't undo it. You
Hmm.
can't think your way out of it.
Yeah. So it becomes traumatic,
Right.
where it may seem like a simple thing where you can just say, hey, I don't want your arm around me, or I'd like you to ask permission for something like that. But if the person isn't doesn't have the tools or the ability to do that, then it becomes a real problem for them,
Yeah,
where they come out of it feeling harmed.
absolutely, absolutely. And so you typically work one on one or with couples or both?
Both, yeah, I
Both. Yeah.
enjoy doing both. It's easier one-on-one. Sometimes couples, then you're dealing with insecurities as far as the
Sure.
couple and this third person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's part of the work as well.
Is to look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, helping them work through that.
So for somebody who is stuck, what would somebody feels stuck in their life, sexually, otherwise, what advice would you give somebody? What?
Wow. Okay, so that's a big range there of it covers a lot.
But I mean, we've gone to 6 years of couples therapy,
Hmm.
or somebody's single and they can't, where they're just they're feeling stuck, and it's feeling stuck around their sexuality.
Yeah.
They're present to that.
Well, one of the I think one of the most important things is to somehow learn to stand in their truth, to discover what their truth is. For example, when I was in my marriage and doing that whole thing, it wasn't really my truth. I got married for the wrong reasons, and I was more open than just having one person for eternity, basically.
Hmm.
And there's that dissonance there if we're trying to live one way and really deep inside it feels another. And so people can get into all kinds of relationships where they stay in it
Yeah,
for the wrong reason and it's not really their truth. And that's a tough one. And uh, yeah, where I come in is that if they finally decided to make a shift, then physically doing something different helps them to own whatever it is that they, are feeling inside but not able to live, basically.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's it's
but
it's the process
yeah.
of embodying the truth of.
Hmm. I did a lot of shadow work myself personally, and I love uh, helping people with shadow work. And the shadow work has to do with a person stuffing away things that they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be seen in a certain way. They're afraid to be perceived a certain way, and that's part of not owning their truth.
Yeah.
And
And then the shadow ends up expressing
mhm, gets
some
triggered.
gets triggered somewhere. It's part of you. It's gonna come out.
Yeah,
So when you say so shadow work, because that's obviously a very popular topic right now,
yeah.
as it should be. And what does that look like?
It's bringing that out into the light and looking at it instead of keeping it stuffed away. And for example, I always use my dirty old man example. That was a shadow that I had that
Uh,
I was afraid of being seen in that way. And in my mind, not
because
that
you're attracted to younger women.
I had younger women who were partners, and I was in this work, with ISTA, teaching about sex, and that's not the only thing we talk about in ISTA, obviously, but yeah,
Right.
to be part of it. And then doing his one-on-one work, and I'm of a certain age, and I'm, white, older male,
Yeah.
and so I had this fear that people would think that I'm a dirty old man, or whisper that to each other or whatever. And so that had me acting in certain ways where I was trying to over compensate, or kind of prove that I'm not that.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
I was I couldn't just flow. I
You're
was
still in a
always
box.
was in a box, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had to bring that out and look at it and go, okay, uh, you know, is this true? And can I accept this? Can I love it? And I finally came to the point that I am a dirty old man, sure,
Sure. Well,
because according to other people, the things that I'm doing would put me in that
yeah,
uh,
and ultimately, I think that the shadow is created because there's shame that's being placed upon you for having a belief,
hmm
or for having a desire.
Yeah,
And the shame is, how do they talk? The shame is externally, right? Guilt is if you do something wrong,
yeah,
you violate, and you know it,
yeah,
and you feel guilty for having done that. Shame is put on you by society.
yeah. Yeah, and if there were something that I was doing in that dirty old man sort of title that was involved guilt, then certainly I need to look at that and make changes. But yeah, and then stepping into it physically, I'll give you an example. It was at a training in ISTA training in Utah, and I had my partner at the time. She was the same age as one of my grown children, and um, she knew that I was struggling with this shadow, and that I was trying to overcome it. And so, we have these sharing circles in the morning,
Right.
and she got up in the middle of the sharing circle, and she was wearing this t-shirt that said something about daddy,
Uh-huh.
and and
I'm
she
with Daddy. Yeah.
yeah, and she had me come up into the center, and then she, you know, um, in front of everybody, put her hand on my dick,
Yeah.
and I don't remember what she said, but it was stepping in physically to this thing and going, yeah, this is who you are.
Sure.
Like, I love you, and you're an older man, and
And that's
and,
okay.
and deal with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. And so again, it's one of those things where stepping into it physically makes a big shift.
Hmm.
You could talk about it all day long, but that had a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
That,
How many years could you have sat in a therapist's
oh yeah,
couch,
exactly.
trying to get rid of it? I mean, it's akin to, I'm sure I'm making up that somebody who's attracted to same sex, same gender, and the
hmm
shame that's put on them by society, which is
Yeah,
all ultimately just programming.
yep. Yeah, so there are all sorts of things like that, and that's a shadow. If somebody who says I'm still in the closet, well, what that's saying is they've got that whole issue stuffed away. They don't
Yeah.
want to be seen. They're afraid. And that's a perfect example of shadow. And so you bring that out and you go, okay, can I own this?
Hmm.
Am I bisexual, or am I gay, or am I whatever it is that you felt that you had to hide? You bring that out, and wow, the liberation, and the freedom to finally own that,
Yeah.
and say, yeah, I am. And when somebody says something derogatory to you, you can say, yeah, that's me.
That's me. Right.
Without the trigger, without the energy that's trying to defend.
That's behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's big.
Yeah. One of the more powerful experiences at the retreat was with the aspecting, the
Mm.
shamanic aspecting, for releasing that energy, um, that process of and coupled with that, for the listeners out there, the when I think there's five different methods for moving emotional energy in your body: the pillow pounding, stamping the feet, the fetal freeze,
Yeah, we actually have like about it says it's 7 tools, but there's actually like 11
There's
in the end.
11. Yeah.
Yeah.
But these are just embodied ways to physically get emotions moving through one's body.
Yeah.
And I think I've touched on this in other episodes, but we are so trained to suppress any emotion, oftentimes even happiness,
Yeah.
and not express it. And they I think it's about 90 seconds that an emotion wants to have to physically move
Mm.
through a body. And so I know in my case, I was trained to just hold all of this stuff. All my pelvic pain was a result of, I mean, firstly, playing crazy, intense tennis and being angry about it. But also, it was shoving everything down and not allowing anything to move through me. And
Yeah.
so these exercises of moving the body, stamping the feet, screaming into a pillow, allows them to move. And then the aspecting, the shamanic aspecting was this sort of, how would you describe, you're having a conversation with another entity on the other side of the cushion, and that could be your mom, your dad, God, yourself, some version of yourself, your brother, your sister, and you switch roles. And it's fascinating. I was doing it with my mother, who's crossed over, who's passed back in 2020, and she had a lot of addiction issues. And when I first did this, I got her, when I switched sides and became her, I got her on drugs. I
Uh,
I was like, whoa. I was like, I was nonverbal. I was like, what is going on? And then I shook
mm.
that off. I said, no, 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 no. And then I got her in a lucid state,
Yeah.
and I was able to hear from her what I needed to hear, even though she's not in the physical anymore.
Yeah. Amazing.
And it was super powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Another way of, like you said, stepping in physically in a way, even though that person isn't with us anymore, but you sort of sit in by proxy
Yeah,
for them, and it's actually because of that a physical experience. Yeah.
yeah, which is you're effectively channeling, which we're all channels for
Mhm.
we're all radios if we know how to tune the dial, the station.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing that, like you said, the emotional release. There are also things like breath work, again, that have that physical effect where it moves things and opens you to channel.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. I had my 2 episodes ago. It was with or maybe the last episode with Ben Goldberger. He's a psychotherapist who does breath. He leads breath work seminars, workshops monthly, and incorporates breath work with his clients,
yeah.
in order to have that physical, that embodied energy
Hmm.
movement, and you're not just talking.
And that's one of the three main points of Tantra, at least the neo-Western Tantra is breath, movement, and sound.
Yeah,
And like you said, you were taught to uh, keep all of your emotions in. And when you start learning to make sound and express those emotions and breathing deeply and
yeah,
moving your body, it's a huge difference.
yeah. And you get them out, and then they're no longer weighing you down.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I think one of the most fun parts is that every morning we do the ecstatic dance
Mm.
uh, at,
Mhm.
at the at the retreat, and I had done work with Jonathan Tripodi in Sedona, who you know Jonathan, I
Mhm.
believe, myofascial guy, and he had told me, oh, there's ecstatic dance. This is back in 2020, right before the pandemic. There's ecstatic dance every, I don't know how, every week or every 3 days in Sedona, something like that. And I was like, part of me really wanted to do it, but part of me was like, oh, no way, no
Yeah.
way, are we going to go, do that? And then I opened to it at ISTA, and it's great. It's so liberating
Yeah.
to just be able to flail around however your body wants to flail around.
Yeah.
And so I say that by way of, for those people listening or saying like, God, I would never do that. Or, I've sat when I sit in circles sometimes now or lead them, I forget where I was in expressing, like if I go back to the early work, like in Wickenburg, and I was terrified to say anything,
Mm,
um, and it gets better.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think a big part of all of this is learning to love ourselves. And, I personally still struggle with um outward validation, wanting everybody to like me, and sometimes we don't want to stand up and dance because we're afraid of what somebody will say about us,
Yeah.
but then when we really start learning to love ourselves and what we want, our body wants, then more and more we can let go of all of that fear of what anybody's going to say about it. And
Well, and don't you find that ultimately that the judgment is from within,
yes,
right? Once we let go of the judgment, I had an experience at a wedding with my daughters who are adults, and they were roughly at the wedding, and I was dancing, which you do at weddings,
right.
and they were laughing at me,
uh
right? And at the time, and I think it was pre-ISTA, and it was like, it was like a stake in my heart, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm not putting any blame on them or whatever, but then having done more of this work, the next time I went crazy at the wedding, and I didn't care. The first time I cared, I was doing it, I was self-conscious about it,
mm,
and I got judgment.
yeah.
When I was no longer self-conscious and I didn't give a shit what anybody thought,
Mm.
nobody judged me. They thought I was great. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
But they didn't change. I changed.
Hmm. And you actually had to step into it and dance again in order to get through that. If you had just shut down and said, "Well, I'm never going to do this again," and
Yeah.
you never
How
would
many
have
times?
shifted that.
Right. And how many times do we do that in life?
Yeah,
Okay, no, now I'm gonna go back in my box.
yeah, yeah. So that's what this work is all about, stepping into it.
Stepping into your power.
As
Like
a-
you said, loving yourself. And it's such a, I don't, we hear that all the time. Oh, you need to love yourself more. And it's like, so what would you say what does that look like? What does that mean? Love yourself more.
It's funny when I was going through all of that therapy, the 6 years of therapy, that's what the counselor, the therapist said that I need to love myself more. I literally didn't know what that meant. I mean, okay, I could say, oh, I can say I love me,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
how does it actually show up? Because in my religious upbringing, it was all about serving other people. Everything was about the other people. And then also uh we had a checklist of ways of being that we had to do, like go on a mission, for example, be a
Hmm.
missionary. I couldn't really choose for myself. And there's a lot of outward judgment about whether we were worthy or not. So I had everything, nothing was about me and what I wanted. And so that was one of the things I sweat about coming out of there, was like, well, what does it mean? How does it look? And I finally, when I finally realized that it's little things, putting myself first.
Hmm.
Uh, Maybe like I want to go dance and I don't care what anybody thinks.
Hmm.
I might be so concerned about other people and embarrassing them or whatever it is
Yeah.
that
And,
I'm not loving myself.
and your religious upbringing is really just an extreme version
Hmm.
of, I think, what we all go through as humans.
Yeah.
In this society, at least in Western society, I think it looks a little bit different over, say, in India,
Hmm.
perhaps. But we're raised to think of the other first, and what will it look like, and what will people think, and
Yeah. Yeah. And, so little things like, do I feel guilty if I take time out during the day from my work to go exercise?
yeah, or have a nap.
Yeah, or have a nap. And so that's loving myself. And I had no clue those sorts of things.
Right, right. You're like, do I buy myself a diamond ring? What do I,
Right.
what
Yeah,
is,
what do you mean?
yeah, Valentine cards? What is it?
Uh-huh.
what does loving me look like?
And yeah, it's a real struggle for so many of us, probably all of us in certain ways, to say, yeah, I deserve to say go to this retreat
Right.
and stretch myself and do these weird things that I never would have, thought of doing before. But I'm just going to do it because it's what I need.
Yeah, I think I was talking to somebody the other day, who was it? And we were talking about this, that fear. There's always when I go, and even when I go take a medicine journey now, and I've had dozens of them, you
Mhm.
know, there's a little bit of anxiety. Where are we going to go? What's going to happen?
Mhm.
But unless you're willing to step into that fear, and it doesn't have to be a massive fear. I'm not saying, jump off the couch and go drink ayahuasca for the first time.
Right.
But you're not really, I think there's the aliveness is lost if you're not. Where's that edge? Where's that little? Can you push just a little bit further
Yeah.
than your comfort zone?
Yeah. And that's something I was just reading about recently. As I'll just say, as people get older, um, they tend to stop doing things like that keep them alive.
Right.
They let the fear, the unknown, keep them on the couch,
Yeah.
and then they die
And then they die.
because
Right.
there's no life left. And so yeah.
What
Um,
what kind of so you started as I did with Landmark. What other stuff do you like that's out there? Landmark, ISTA, Kudoshka.
yeah, the Q, the Deer Tribe does the Kwadoshka. It's a similar thing to what ISTA does, but it's only on the week. It's a weekend rather than a week.
Yeah.
And they have a different approach, kind of a Native American way of teaching things with the directions and the elements,
Okay. Okay.
and they get more into the physical aspects of the body, like different types of genitals and what they mean, and all kinds of interesting things.
Symbolisms. Okay.
Yeah. Uh, the Human Awareness Institute is similar, where they have their own approach.
Yeah.
It's also weekends. They call it the High, HAI.
Okay.
The um, I like that. I even did oming. Do you know
Oh, I don't know oming. What's oming?
oming is something that was popular for a while, where um, you're taught as a man to hold space for a woman, and ultimately you're stroking the woman's clit very gently and letting
Okay.
her have her orgasmic experience. Oming is or orgasmic meditation is
Oh,
what that
interesting.
stands
Okay.
for. Yeah. And very interesting. Just another tool in the toolbox, I figure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But big groups would get together and the whole room would be doing this, and the man would just be holding space, totally clothed.
Okay.
And and it was all about the woman feeling safe to have this
And
experience
to receive.
to receive. Yeah. Um, yeah, lots of interesting things out there. Did I say shamanic de-armoring?
No.
That's another
No.
thing that Deer Tribe does.
Your tribe does that?
Yeah, it's a 2 week event where you go in the evenings during the week so you can still work during the day, and then the full days on the weekend for 2 weeks. And it's all about um, shedding this protective armor, energetic armor that we
Energy.
have, the
Yeah.
the walls, the blocks, the
Sure. Yeah, there's
um,
also I assisted at ISTA over in Sweden last summer, and the
mm,
week prior, the retreat center held a 2-week intimacy camp that they do every
oh yeah.
every summer, and I think it's pronounced Shepshuden. It looks like in
Mhm.
English, it looks like Skepsudden,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
so many things like that. And then you mentioned plant medicine. I've experienced a lot of that, and I'm uh, I'm not really feeling called to it these days so much, but
yeah.
I've tried ayahuasca and iboga,
Oh, you
and
went the Iboga route. Oh, that's
oh,
intense.
that was amazing.
Yeah, that's
Very intense.
yeah, that's still on my list.
But mushrooms, I love some of the experiences I've had there, where actually after I left my marriage and had another partner, we had a really hard time communicating about some things. And once we got on the mushrooms, we could actually talk about it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was
I
his.
mean, MDMA is another, Molly is another lovely one for couples work,
Mhm.
for heart opening,
Yeah.
and
So
having,
there's a place for all of that too.
yeah,
All the plant medicine um, and then I've done a lot of studying,
sure,
a lot
reading
of
and,
reading, yeah, Abraham Hicks and
uh-huh.
um, uh,
I saw Esther a couple summers ago. She was in Chicago.
yeah, I saw
Yeah.
her live too.
Did you see her live?
It's pretty
And you,
fun. Yeah.
are you familiar with Paul Selig?
No, I don't know
Oh,
that
you
one.
might enjoy Paul Selig.
Okay.
I've seen him. I've gone to a couple of his workshops this year, and he's a very, very clear channel for Melchizedek, which is an order of ascended masters.
Hmm.
And he's channeled now. Just I was in North Carolina for the conclusion of the 14th book that he's channeled.
Wow.
The first one is I Am the Word. Um,
Okay.
it's called, and it was my first experience of reading a book and having energy move through my body.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, and I was like, oh, there's something to this.
Yeah.
So I've invited him to be on the podcast. We'll see. I would love to have Paul on the podcast. He's a fascinating story
Yeah.
and
That's all
amazing.
good stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting where you find the things. I remember before I did ISTA, I read Think and Grow Rich.
Mm-hmm.
There's, I think it's chapter 11 where he talks about sex transmutation. And I was,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, that's interesting. And somehow I got out of that this idea where if I self-pleasure during meditation or prayer, that it raises my vibrations
Okay.
more in line with, receiving whatever I need to receive. But, Think and Grow Rich, that's where I got that idea.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You never know.
Well, there's another set of material called the Law of One, the Ra contact, RA.
Hmm.
And it came from the early 80s. It was three people, and they were channeling through. There was a woman, Carla, and she was the channel. But Ra, who's another entity, a collective entity, uh, I'm glad we got this opening because I wanted to wrap this back around. They talk about, I mean, sex is ultimately a creative act. It's the ultimate creative act, the act of intercourse.
Yeah.
And it can be used for creativity beyond just a child creating
Hmm.
another human. But they talked about, to your point about, masturbation during meditation, that the sex, the act of intercourse, when done consciously and, in the ways that we've talked about, is very, very healing for the body, for both bodies, for the physical bodies.
Yeah.
And they would, Carla was in a relationship with at least one of the two men, and Ra would say, they talked about how yes, she had some physical ailments, some arthritis and some blockages and whatnot, but they would have intercourse in order to better prepare her to receive the channeling.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
I'm sure
Yeah.
some of the people out there are like, you guys have gone off the
Ah,
reservation.
no, it's true. You've heard of sex magic,
Yeah.
and then uh, sex is good for transformation. I've experienced people like their bodies just rewiring after intercourse, after
Oh, interesting.
being well fucked, I'll say.
Yeah. 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 More.
But just vibrating and rewiring and it's just an amazing thing to experience where they
Yeah,
have a
and
transformation
it's
happen.
so frustrating, fighting against this societal, these norms and this shaming around this whole idea of the body and sex, because it's all
Mhm.
very natural as long as it's done with two consenting adults.
Right. Exactly.
Um,
And that's what I'm all about is trying to make it normal.
yeah, just
Make it,
normalize it.
yep.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Rich. This has been amazing.
Yeah.
A wide-ranging discussion.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's great to see you, and I'll
Right.